Next up for the input is Tracy Romer.
Good evening, board members. I'm Stacy Romano. I am here to Fulton as a grandparent of a child that is currently in Memorial Middle School. I have two other grandkids who are in South View. My concern is I want to talk a little bit about Memorial Middle School reopening. I think that there's some kind of considerations that need to be put on the table regarding what the advantages and disadvantages of continuing, having our middle school with our high school. Yes, there's benefits as far as, kids, if they have appropriate role models, they get exposed to things, but that can go the opposite as well. I can tell you personally, my grandson has been exposed to active substance use at current school. And he was not prepared for it. To the point he's calling me panicked every day to go pick him up, take him to lunch to get him away from that social setting. And so I think that part of, those discussions need to include the reality of what our kids are facing. And of course, yes, there's room for, role, maturity, all of that great stuff. But the reality is some of the bigger challenges are there's increased exposure to at-risk behaviors. Our kids are being exposed to sexualized behaviors much earlier. You look at the current data today, first sexual experience for children in the state is around 8. And some are seeing it's even lower. And so they're being exposed. When you put an 11-year-old and an 18-year-old in the same setting, their developmental needs are so different. There are worlds apart, and yet they're being exposed in a lot of days to the same things. So that was one thing that, I found really, really concerning because the social and emotional needs of both of those age groups are very different, worlds apart. Another biggie that is not, and I can't say that it's not talked about, but it's not spoken to, I think, loudly enough, is those kids that are younger are being bullied. They're being bullied, they're being punked, whatever you want to call it. Oh, you don't want to try my vape, you're a punk. They're being exposed to all of these other things. And there's not, because of deficiencies in staffing, we're all lacking staffing, these days. There's not enough supervision to really keep those younger kids safe. So I'm really concerned about that aspect. I work, in children's behavioral health. I get tons of referrals for kids coming out of the schools for bullying. And a lot of times there's not enough eyes on these kids to mitigate all the risks that they're dealing with. So lastly, of course, regardless of the decision that's made, my hope is that we look at the financial side of it, but also the sustainability. We don't want to be yanking our kids around every few years to make it pay for itself, right? And the reality is it's going to cost money. But I hope and pray that when these decisions are made, that the needs of the students supersede the finances involved, because our kids deserve a safe environment, because without that, they cannot learn. And we're going to continue to be last on every list. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you so much for hearing me tonight.
Thank you. Next on public input is Mrs. Evans.
Hi there. I also have a child in the school. He is friends with Stacy Branson. We've had these discussions where I was super excited when I saw the agenda item that they wanted to open more middle school, because when they decided to combine them, I understand that there was a lot of talk about keeping the high schoolers away from the middle school, and that doesn't always happen. From what I understand, there's classes. Some of the middle schools have to go to high school and take classes over there, and vice versa. So they do interact with each other. They do My daughter was in middle school when it first, happened, when they first integrated stuff. I clearly remember an incident where, she was in middle school, she went to the bathroom, there were high school kids and they're smoking weed. And so, like Stacy said, our kids are being exposed to stuff. I really believe that middle school has no business, um, being integrated with the high school. I really believe that we need to make that shift where they, put middle school back, whether it be at the local Legion, elementary school, or whether it be at the local level. That's my input.
Thank you. Just so everybody's aware, the public input, all three items are all the same topic. We are gonna be discussing this when we get to that point of the agenda. Next item on the agenda is finance report discussion.
So the finance committee met on February 11th, 2024. The minutes for January 15th, 2025 were reviewed and approved. We reviewed the January 2025 bank reconciliation reports for the general and student activity funds and the student activity fund balance report. No variances were noted. The committee also reviewed the following: the cash balance report by fund, expenditure and revenue report by fund, purchase order issued in January, federal report, payroll journal report, capital outlay report, and the January 2025 date and student activity deposits. And then we go for bars, and do that same.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion?
Mr. President,
This is through,
thank you for this report. And, review fund 31-100. Because we have determined that additional funds are necessary in other provisions instead of construction line item. What was the construction and what is the changes before?
Changes zero, we're just adjusting, where the costs are for some of those services or architecture and stuff was overspent on the line items, so I'm just making sure it's moving. So, and then construction, we have put in about 4.9 million, so we have sufficient funds here on the next general.
Thank you.
if there's no other questions, I entertain a motion to approve these bars. To your recommendation, Madam Superintendent.
Mr. President, just like to go through and just so everybody's aware, so bar 06918. Was for $2,064. Bar 6919 M fund with maintenance bar, Mr. Romero was just asking about. And then just a maintenance bar 20 debt service maintenance bar. So then on that, Madam Superintendent, will be your recommendation.
Chairman, before I recommend, consent agenda, consent.
Recommendation, I'll make the motion, we approve bar 18, 19, and 20.
A motion by Mr. Gonzalez, do I get a second?
Okay.
A second by Dr. Mazur. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Next on the agenda is item B and item C is a consent item. We have payables and review expenditures report. I entertain a motion that we approve both.
So moved.
Motion.
There's a leader recommendation. Leader recommendation.
But you pulled up ours. We isolated that in the general.
Then when she gave the recommendation, she recommended consent.
So is your motion in the bars or?
My motion was for the bar, so we'll just.
So I have a motion right now to approve item B and item C payables review expenditures by Mr. Gonzalez. Do I have a second?
Perfect.
A second by Dr. Mazur. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is presentation food services. Mrs. Bennett.
Good evening, board members, great to be sensible. Today I have a presentation for you about our program that we have here is for breakfast and lunch. So for breakfast, we require components of milk, grain, meat alternative, and fruit or veg, mostly fruit. That is our breakfast meal covered. I don't know if you want me to run through that, but it's basically that's what it is in fact. The MSRP meal pattern includes the groups of milk, grain, meat alternative. We have a fruit and a vegetable actually, so there's 5 components required unless we do offer versus serve, which we do that in middle school and high school. That's new in your district that I'm implementing, which offers the students an alternative. They are actually, they are only required 3 menu items, which have to be, the required menu items are a few vegetables, and then they can either grab like the entree, the main entree, or milk, or even 2 fruits, and so on and so on. We have guidelines that we have to meet, so 5 cups per fruit, 5 cups per vegetable per week. Daily meat alternatives are around 2 ounces, and that seems a little low with all the required components. It should meet the full milk requirement. Milk is not required in high school, so they do not have to do them. We do offer water. So we, in our menu example, we in parentheses is the alternative. So instead of like, for example, the beef tacos, you can get the beef quesadilla instead in 2 other items. That is we're trying to get more participation in this. And fresh for the program, we also, so we meet the daily and we actually see the daily, because in our elementaries, we give about, I would say 2.5 cups extra per week of fruits or vegetables with our fresh vegetable program. Yeah, if I have any questions, anyone else need?
Thank you.
Show you guys pictures of our trays so that you guys can see what we have going on. We do have new projects developing. The 26th we're installing a dishwasher in the Robertson. We just got look for the renovation of new appliances for like the tail with that 250,000, and we have other money to do so. And I'm thinking about selling high school, particularly some.
This is for
Instead of the then I get a high school, unified program, and then you said one thing, and then you go back there and
We're working on that. It's been a struggle. I think people are kind of stuck in their old ways. So we've kind of been trying to implement that change as we go.
why that's something no ways.
Like they're used to, yeah, so like, I'm just saying, like, we're trying to change that because they had a little bit of leniency before I came, and we're trying to get on board and get back into
Allergies,
allergy.
like peanut allergies.
So the nurses provide us with pictures and allergies, and we get to know our students. That's just we interact with them, we get to know them, we recognize their face, and when we come, they have.
Putting everything on the separate, so they
any other questions?
If I can just add to this, you may or may not have read the things with regards to the middle school and high school. Ministry no longer allowed. Or from our you know, the report that she has on there, the high school, middle school and high school education, compared to the high school, is extremely low. So our goal behind that is one to disruption, tardiness, all of that kind of stuff that's taking place, but to get students to keep in the cafeteria And part of the food service, so that is a big part of the, revenue that's brought in.
And I know we have low numbers. I mean, we do have, from my understanding, we're supposed to be closed counties. So I don't know if that could impact our numbers, but they do have access to free meals. We have the grill. It's been kind of closed lately because we did have one of my staff members retire in December, but we're back on track now in February. So they have alternatives, but they're just not.
I know a couple years ago, we didn't allow vendors to go on campus and more allowed them to just walk out of campus since we already closed campus. They tried to get those. So I know how difficult it is. I own a business that we had to maintain guidelines that the state gave us. We had to stay within the budget, so I appreciate how difficult it is to provide a nutritious meal within those guidelines. So I appreciate it when you do.
I have a question. It's, so do you just do high school and middle school? You must do elementary? I do. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll talk to you about experience after, responding. They have a couple of complaints about cafeteria food. I guess some of it gets through. I never seen food before. And, I guess it's 2%. Yeah, some of the students would rather go through water where we have a choice to get water. And we give them a choice, like choose what you guys see that cafeteria what you've done. Like if there's a risk of food.
So, like how we submitted the offer versus serve into high school, middle school, we're gonna start putting that into our elementary. It's just, their requirements are a little bit different than the others because of the participation we want. Elementary is more likely to participate because they don't have that open campus, so like you guys were trying to implement these different changes and have you guys need to have 3 items instead of 5, so it increases our participation.
Any questions? No? Thank you, Lisa. Next item on the agenda is old business. We have item A, policy. Evaluation of school board self-evaluation secretary.
Make a motion that we, do the second reading of for self-evaluation policy.
A motion by Mr. Gonzalez, will have a second. And second by Dr. Reserve. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, new business. Item A, student memorial parent request.
Chair, last year in February, the board received a request from Karen Smith at Chavez to have her son, baby Chavez, be honored during this year's graduation. He passed away as a young child. So her request is that there be an allowance for him to receive an honorary diploma. And so I am recommending with that.
Commissioner Bridges. Policy for this at all.
No, but this is because he was part of his graduating class. And like I said, it's an honorary diploma that will.
You think that we can go on the board with the discussion.
We can take the board.
I didn't think about this parent request. I make a motion that we honor this parent request for graduation. A second. A second by Mr. Gonzalez. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Okay.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Single. Next item on the agenda is item B, tennis at state travel and Northern Texas.
Good evening, Madam Superintendent, and the board. I come to you this evening to ask for your approval for out of state travel to the annual locations for the Robinson High School tennis team. This would be for a 20-team tournament that we competed this tournament several years. Tournament is March 28th, excuse me, March 29th, and Saturday would be the 28th, play the 29th, and then return the 29th. This would be for both boys and girls tennis team, for that specific tournament.
We should have first year, you have to do this for the high school, or you have to do for transportation.
I'm just asking for, state transportation.
That's just wrong.
I think the motion to approve the out-of-state travel.
Motion by Mr. Romero, we have a second. I'll second. I have, how many athletes do you take?
Take approximately between 14 and 16.
That's boys and girls. So are you gonna be, traveling in suburbans, I assume?
Probably, yeah, 2 suburbs.
Any other discussion?
Is that a boy and girls tournament, or is it, boy and girls? You said 16.
Boys.
Or 16. And just for one night, the hour.
Yeah, we actually, so I'm not asking for any expense, but the school need to raise that money out of our own, so that's $20 out of our just tennis account.
There's no other discussion, I have a motion by Mr. Romero, second himself, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign, motion carries, thank you, Mr. Holden. Next item is item C, Minimum payment, CTE, health plan. Thank you.
Good evening. Okay, just real quick, it's been the Madden launch table. I'd like to give a quick rundown of our CTE purchases for the past 3 years. So, I've been trying to advance our CTE program as much as possible. In the past 3 years, we've purchased items for welding, construction, film production, health sciences, and we're supporting the CDL classes starting this semester. If we need to pay for them to take the test, or we set aside money to with their CDL test. So for welding, we purchased equipment such as gloves, helmets, jackets, goggles, rods, metal. The big purchase there was the plasma cutter that we purchased, and that included 2 teachers for our teachers that will be using the plasma cutter. It's a really nice machine, so at some point, once we get it going, the students are it's something that I think everyone should see. So if that chance, I would go in and check that out. This year we'll be purchasing two welders. I added a little flyer in for MIG-TIG welders. We'll be purchasing 2 of those, a 260 MTX and a 330 MTX welding machine from Lincoln Electric. So those are some we have welders. We're both getting holes, so we decided to bid in the purchase 2 of those welders through the CTE funding that we have. Through construction, we've been able to purchase a lot of the equipment as well, gloves, goggles, hammers, nails, screws, materials, those kind of things. We purchased the online curriculum, which is the NCCR construction curriculum. So our students can get certified in construction, but we've also certified our teachers to be able to teach that through this program. Along with that purchase, we were able, which would have been a $3,500 toolbox, which is a the DeWalt toolbox, which included different types of saws, any type of machine that we were able to get that with the purchase of the curriculum that we got.
This year, my focus was the health sciences and the STEM areas. And, this table that I would like to, or hoping that we can purchase, with the CT funding this year is the anatomy table. I do have two quick, videos that I want to show you, we'll just do some if you want, but the first video will show the table. And then there are, the add-on to the table would be a science portion to the table. So once we purchase the anatomy table, we'll be able to purchase some science curriculum. And we'll be able to do biology, physiology, and chemistry experiments through this table. But once you see the table, you can get it. Wait. First one. Anyway, the table is a 6-foot table, it's convertible or convertible, but it's stand up. The images on the table are where it would be up to 6 foot. There are, 5 rare cadavers within the table and 1,500 plus relocation cases. So they can do anything from a person from the fetus to, say, an elderly person with the body type that can be within the images that are shown. They have histology slides, cross sections. They also have animal CTs and MRIs. They have segmented dogs, cats, frogs, and mice. And I believe there's horse and beaver in there, but so they have different animals that we would be able to look at. But you go in there and it's a touch screen, so the students would be able to manipulate the table. So if you wanted to take the heart, you could pull up the image and they can look at the heart. It goes anywhere from removing the skin to going through the different sections of the body that you're going through. The heart, the lungs, any type of anything that's able to work within the table. Again, they have animal, so they will be able to do that with animals, but then with the science portion of the curriculum, we can add on to this, we would be able to do different types of experiments. So like it could also be cost effective because we can do experiments on the table without having to actually purchase the things that we need in the lab. And a lot of times, our labs aren't where we need them to be, so that using the table, we will be able to do experiments.
Do we dissect with just a finger or do we actually have? What are they?
Yeah, so you're just being moving some, like I said, there's a touch thing, like I'm just like you can see like a start showing, it starts removing.
You could go ahead and use something like this on my iPad. You can see all of the help the students are going down and the muscle. This is a whole. You can see that.
And so
Especially if you go out down and open.
sometimes there are injuries. You can go in, you can actually, you can see which part of your face or, this here, I also purchased, prior to this, I purchased, rubber arms, those things for them to use in Miss Ortiz's class, so that they can learn how to actually go in and start learning how to use the bottom. So we have the different parts we already purchased, but with this, we can be able to,
If we purchase this table and we just get the parts, the whole plans from it, we can use it.
yes, and set up this table in like a lab setting, so we would have that set up in a room by itself so that we would be able to schedule times for, say, Mr. Cheese's class to go in, the anatomy and physiology classes, we would have, like say, Ms. The field trips and we have physical students do presentations on the different things that they're learning. Science experiments, we have a lot of kids that have been doing really well with their science, experiments and the things that was the strength of the class, but I think this would advance them as far as the different. I wish the volume were computer.
That's a thing. So we have, we have the money in the for this.
The purchase for this, it is $83,650. We have enough to cover this in CT. I've done, my homework and all the things that I need to do. I've worked with the people at, the CT or CCRD Pro. They have approved the buffs and the forms that we need, the over 5K forms so that we can make a purchase. They actually have recommended that instead of, because there's this table and then there's one like a little lower grade. They recommended we purchase the higher end table because they felt that machines, and I think it's just the that. I would recommend that we do purchase the higher end table. Along with that, there are also, like you mentioned, Mr. Leonard, there are some tablets. So these would be add-ons after we purchase this, and then next year, many that we see, we could purchase tablets. Those are kind of 4-packs are like $99,000 for the 4-pack, but with those you are also able to use those in the classroom, or if you were to assign them, do an assignment, you can send them home to the tablet and they can do the assignment and be a smaller and more table or the tablet that they would use.
Mr. Gonzalez, one thing about this is, just like you mentioned, a few minutes ago, is after we purchased, we need the money for the funds to purchase a platinum table. And as I'm aware, Mr. Gonzalez and Ms. Sandoval, we did walk through the high school, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, and it's still not in operation. We purchased that last year, we received it last year, and it's still not in operation. What are we gonna do if we spend $80,000 on this to get this operational? It's just not some type of thing that we're gonna have, and it's gonna get dusty, it's gonna end up in the closet. And in 2-3 years, we just, what are we gonna do to get this operational so that kids can take advantage of this?
A lot of that table, yes, it did take a while to get that done, but the training had to be done prior to the machine being used. So we were supposed to send people to Reno, but that didn't happen because of the change of menu at the beginning of the year. So they were finally able to do the online training. We had that for about a month ago. So they are fully trained now. They walked us through the machine. We did all the training, so they are fully starting. With this, again, it would be training. We would have to be trained, and everyone, that once we get it, it's up to the student. The table and use it as much as possible. But I think that we would move our kids forward as far as.
I think it's personal. I think it's just a huge advantage for students. Ms. Sandoval, you mentioned to me there's only what 2 or 3 other districts that have something in the state.
Really opportunities with the director with PRB, and she was really excited with especially the work that she's had with Ms. Gonzalez. And then in addition to this, we are looking at enriching and enhancing our traveling for her friends, and I just met with finance today and looking at supporting, extensively what that we're doing on our levels. So maybe you could consider a wise investment regards to the material and the setup and purchase it now, the goal would be to have access to the manufacturing so it's functional and ready by August.
And the other thing I wanted to mention was there was an issue with the electrical part of what they needed to do on the wall. So as far as getting the people that took a little longer than it was supposed to. So we started with Chris, and he said that they would come in and they had to keep bumping our gates for whatever reason. So that didn't get put in until
Sure, and I'm, anybody, just, if we purchase the, like, students, because, like, this graduating class, to the opportunity to use that, utilize the plasma table, so. Just to be nice, if we can buy things, use them, and get the kids to start, utilizing. So, on this, table, can they send some of your trainer staff? Is it, I know you mentioned this, but also going to be numerous teachers that are going to be using it, is that, a concern of ours that since it's so new and so technology savvy, is that gonna be an issue that we could potentially mess up something? I mean, I know.
They get trained.
There is a warranty on the table, we agree with federal funding, you cannot purchase a warranty for more than 1 year. So if you, as part of the CT funding, you would have to purchase a warranty for the year. That's included in there. There is training included on the purchase. They did give us a lot of free things. So the first year, the warranty is free, their training is free. And then if we add additional teachers, we would have to pay for additional people to get trained. And, so those are things that are considered for the system.
Questions, sir?
The question. Every time a student uses this table, are they gonna be under a teacher supervision? So that they're not doing anything by themselves? Yes, we would have to come up with, so we're gonna have to establish procedures and we need to do that. Mr. Eddie and Mr. Thomas. And like I said, I envision being in the lab, have a clock and we'll have to, sign it out, make sure that we have some type of procedures for them to be able to. Table so that we can make sure that it's maintained. And then my second question is, how many people are you planning to get trained to begin? I was hoping to get at least 3 of us trained to begin with. So I was hoping that Ms. Nicholas, Mrs. Donna Ortiz, and then maybe myself or one of the principals, but, at least 3 to be.
Just for the, these animals do have the mechanism, they just have to utilize the space, so it's not randomly, necessary to have the space for this.
Yes, so, where this speaker downstairs, the old computer that, students have one of my stuff, those are over here, so, one of those is converted. We have, some funds that we received, those funds to convert. That would be, I think.
Instructions.
And looking at the table, like you just mentioned that there was a problem with the electrical connection for the plasma cutter. Does this one need to have a switch line outlet as well? As far as I know, no, but if you want me to make sure that whenever, I can double check with them and make sure that we don't need a special outlet. But as far as that, thank you.
Just continue, so just to be clear, so if we were to purchase this and board to agree on this purchase, this would be something that we implemented and we had our students to utilize it from us.
We may be able to use it towards the end of the year, because it says it takes 4 to 6 weeks to get it, but maybe for the end of the year, but.
I think it's a great idea. It's great for our students. We have numerous, alumni at the medical school right now. It's gonna be awesome advantage for them. For any students that are looking in medical field. Do I have a,
Mr. President,
yes, Mr. Martin?
Madam Superintendent, your recommendation on the recommendation, it's a motion, we usually keep in mind to purchase.
Vote by Mr. Nardo, second. A second, by Dr. Zerr, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Mrs. Moss.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Yes, Mr. King.
Madam Superintendent, and next time we have a board, can I get invited? Thank you.
Thank you.
So we can't have more than 2 together, but you guys can obviously have a toy. They had a toy schedule, and I just basically carried them on. But if you guys want to say, I'm more than welcome to go with the superintendent and schedule. Next item on the agenda is item B, 2025 NSBA student achievement awards.
With the members of the board, the annual, recommendations that you all give for an individual, either school employee or community member that contributes to the school and provides, you know, it's not only resources, but time and dedication to the district. So, like we would thinking and thinking of someone that you want to nominate as an individual, or and then choose. And you can do more than one. That is within, like I said, can you come within the school community that having everything and contributed to the improvements.
Something we need to vote on this evening. What have any nominations or well, somebody there's something that we can email to you and perform some.
What I have done in the past has been, because you need to, Mr. Ian and the extensions of the board meeting is, you know, after that deadline, 100% of the time we have left.
You know, we've always had an extension of that.
So the board will do, we maybe send an email to superintendent and give our nominations, unless somebody has nominations right now, we can discuss.
We'll accept the one.
Yeah, or if somebody has a nomination,
Oh, no, yeah.
I don't know. If everybody's fine, we can email to superintendent and vote on the March. This is from.
I'd like to make a motion that this table is on.
I have a motion to table item D, student achievement awards. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second by Mr. Gonzalez, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Right,
Pose same sign, motion carries. Next on the agenda is item E, policy, community use of school facilities.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, I have been bringing this policy before you. So we have, and I'm sure historically you've had requests for use of facilities, whether it's gymnasium, field, properties, and so on. This policy in particular, allows the district to charge fees, and there's different classes of fees, that the board should consider with regards to the loan of facilities. Within the policy, you'll see that there are class 2 and class 3 fees. For, and I would say the majority of the use facilities fall into class 1 purpose, which is for use of students, whether it's fees and what have you. And the reason that this came to my attention was recently we had a request for a birthday party for one of our facilities. And was hesitant to loan the facilities for individual personal use. But that entities within the community that want to use the facilities, you have the ability to charge. What I did with the policy service, and I extracted different districts have their fees. Personal state of city school does not have that place, so the district alternative, that was something that I think was being considered a couple years back. So within your packets, there are lists of schools in the government there. That was Clovis, House. Anyway, so for the next board meeting, what I recommend you guys to do is look at the packet and look at examples that other districts have. And if that's something that you want to consider with regards to when you're loaning the facilities. They're not, you know, $30 for the day, $50. Different districts have different classes.
So, yes, this one's for Aztec. And there you'll see that they charge, $25, for class 2 fees, $100 minimum. And again, it depends on what it is that they're asking to do. And this says with, if we have to get our custodians, for example, clean up facilities afterwards or whatever, those would be possibilities. So this one is, again, it's just for your review. There's different, districts that are listed on here, for you. If you want to do, or you want to leave it at no charge.
One invitation I have members to attend is, and I like Mr. Jones's input on this. Gyms and baseball courts, softball courts, soccer courts, a lot of times that Mr. Fulgenzi lends those out to a lot of the youth that those kids are going to be bonds and graduates at some time, at some point, or playing sport on a higher level, varsity level. We use those facilities to try to get them hooked into not only from sport, but attending Los Angeles City Schools. So by charging them, I don't know if you're people I know it's a small amount of money, but I've never, this is the first I've ever heard of anyone to learn our facilities for a birthday or something, but I don't know if maybe there's something between using the sports. None of the things I know if you're taking, you've been pretty good at always talking about little leagues and different stuff.
Yeah, I like to try to help out, and I really appreciate what it's instituted with the facilities. The cities that do what they usually do. Kind of specifically, we have different facilities that I like to deal with, which is sort of within community center. So the sort of practice is a different flavor that we're trying to we continue with that. If not, then we look at different entities that want to come involved. Facilities with different starting, whatever the membership or whatever it be to other folks, they're making money off our facility and not really offering to even pay us, give us a fee, much less keep our facilities paid for, block and close. So we have a nice security that's offering, having it employed, make sure that it's secure, bring it in the morning.
Yeah, I agree. I understand they're great, but yeah, I mean, I've always believed that helping out the youth is saying, letting them in, but so I think it's time to reduce. So do you think it's good to maybe put some kind of charge on using some of the facilities? I know I've been in obviously softball field many times, and I know you've been to other entities, and there's track all over the place. We dig up the pitching mounds they do, and it's especially hard when we have youth football using softball field and that kind of stuff. And I know you're trying to accommodate everybody, and if you got one team, and also that way they're like fighting, and so you're trying to accommodate everybody. But I think something in there that we need to put, if they're going to use one of our fields for that sport, so we're not using software when the softball field or
It's in the fact that you only get an area this time like little bit of reality going on that soccer field that that's parking lot they didn't kind of believe it. You open it for one thing, pretty soon you have it. No, it's not they know that there needs to be some.
Kristen from Fulgenzi. Ms. Fulgenzi, if there's ever like damage done to the facility or to the ballpark or to the gym or things like that, are they required to pay, or do we just kind of put that up and repair it ourselves and fix it ourselves?
Well, I mean, the problem is just kind of figuring out, I mean, it's hard to do. We have facilities that we're using for our medical, not under areas, or other entities coming in and out. So it's hard to reach out. We do that. answer your question, they haven't been able to target anything like that, or we really haven't had any sort of really more legal. You know, security.
Thank you.
This is the, excuse me, Melissa.
I just want to note that for class one fees, anything that's student related, or related specifically, there is no charge. What I'm looking at more so is class, we really want to get out to outside, you know, the K-12 population. So that's.
If we got on board, the first request we heard from, they wanted to use Michael Smith with the FEMA, and the board members that were already there said that historically it was used as a community center. So they would always do things like that. I never heard of birthday for that, and they agree that we have people, and I know additional things that usually we kind of have a little partnership with the city, so that way they use some park facilities, so that in turn, when something happens like this, the team goes down, or it's snowing, the baseball team or football team or whatever can practice outside, they can use the gym, so we don't get charged for that, but at the same time, we've had issues with just making track. Nothing that.
This is from findings.
Yeah. Have you ever come across maybe something like this, but you're not charging a fee if the entity is wanting to borrow the facility, not make money, but if they're making money by some benefit, then they have to pay a fee back to us. Like, for instance, like when people go to the making to have their breakfast, they get out 200 tickets. When they, so that they get $2,000, automatically 50% goes to that organization that books the breakfast for that month. And the Masons get the other $1,000. That out of that was $1,000 comes maintenance fees, they buy all of the food, they buy all of the drinks, they do all of the cooking themselves. So they don't make a whole lot of money, but they're paying for everything else. So have you ever seen something like this where if the entity that's wanting to borrow the facility makes money, then they pay a percentage back? Instead of if they're not making money, like the little Yapples or anybody who borrows the field, but they don't make money, that they just use it for free.
Sorry, but I think we've done that in the past. Maybe like with youth wrestling, they get a percentage back, right? They use my arm, right? So I think we've done some of that, but a lot of the organizations that use the nonprofits, it's literally it's all that kind of stuff, travel, baseball, or whatever it might be. But I know we've made a little bit of money in the past. Before you've been here, we try to do it around our carbon plastic. So we're at the max and every now and then try to utilize it. So,
What the percentage did you get back?
do you remember this?
It covers the, you can actually, that ending that actually put on the page. Just so you can take care of that.
I think that we also let the vendor come in and they gave us a percentage of the base, so. Our vision.
Yeah, that's gonna be part of,
And you can do that.
no, it's not that I'm opposed to it, I'm just one member, but I just think it's gonna be hard and we leave it up in the air and it's not definitive on a piece of paper, then Mr. Presents will be the bad guy or you'll be the bad guy because you're charging this person, but you're not charging this person. I think it's gonna be very hard to, if it's not cut and dry across the board, somebody will be the bad guy and that's kind of what.
It's a big issue. So it's either between Mr. Florence and himself, we're doing those final people that, you know, do we then get out or more or any, you know, whatever, then I don't have an issue, I just need direction of what it is.
The other board members, you have information. And then you recommended that we look at it before we
Yeah,
take the
yeah,
action.
yeah.
I don't know.
Yes.
There's no-
I'm just trying to get to the table for this meeting, or are we?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's the meeting. Yeah, we've been waiting about reading. I'm sure.
Yeah, it's just for discussion, but it's too late. Does the board have any other discussion on this? No. There's no other, next item on the agenda is item F, to set a vista elementary renovation. I know, I had a meeting once, when you had a meeting with Kip the same, and I'm doing good. I want to discuss some of that.
Yes, so based off of our last meeting, we had a discussion, I believe it was in December, actually, that state of Mason is ready for their schematic design. So we have been moving forward, with that, understanding of getting that school renovated. Currently, the discussion for Memorial School has come up with, the consideration of reopening that particular school. I think that to reach out to individuals at the state level, with regards to what that would potentially look like, because right now, we're on books. You need to do with regards to get a visa and that particular renovation and the dollars that it's costing to renovate. Would be to put a stop on that particular project. My recommendation is, as we mentioned earlier, with our guests, is going to be that we would relocate, the students at Sierra Vista and Memorial Middle School. We open up that school, the facilities are to our different for our 7th and 8th graders. That is more money than we need to spend, on have multiple schools open. With the Sierra Vista renovation, dollars, the dollars follow the students, not necessarily stay. So, with the money that will be appropriated by PSEOC, which is an estimated $25 million to renovate Sierra Vista right now. Those dollars would follow, and again, this is an estimation, those dollars would follow the students to the open learning. That's where ultimately decides. What that also does is it enables me to apply for dollars for Memorial Middle School itself, for the systems-based project. Very similar to Sierra Vista to renovate the entire facilities as a whole. So the discussion with this is in consideration for you all, if you are truly looking at reopening the Memorial Middle School. And I apologize if I'm going to kind of merge them both together, is that consideration be 448. Not they remain as 2 different schools, it's just relocation. And it puts the facilities back on the books with PSEA simply. So what I have done already is I have requested for them to come in and review, and check the school with regards to its operations, right, what is available. We have, worked with contractors to come in, for security, fire alarms, or HVAC, to get an estimated cost, what that looks like. Again, I'm talking about the part of the school. We right now, just to operate the gym and to keep everything else running, it's costing us about $6,000 a year, for a big purpose. So, we need to do something, like anything.
Not to interrupt you, but that $56,000 a year, does that include all the fixing of the vandals and everything else that's going on in the
No,
that is just utilities, the grant.
Oh. And one thing that, I wanted to add is, so Sierra Vista, I wanted to see where we're at with this project. Madam Secretary was having a meeting here today, and I joined on the meeting, so I started asking questions. And some of the questions, and I don't know, Mr. Long, we've been here longer than any of us board members. How long has this Sierra Vista project been kind of, we've been 3 years, 4 years, that we've been kind of planning?
Probably about 3 years, that we've been planning,
3 years.
so we're just looking for the money. To do it, because we need to look on the list.
Right, and that's my biggest thing is, so right now, PFSA's estimate is, they're thinking it's gonna be $28 million to do a remodel. Is what they're thinking. Obviously, when you do construction, it's always more than what they estimate. To do a new building for Sierra Vista, and Sierra Vista right now is 50,000 square feet. They're thinking $48 million to do a new construction of that. Our percentage is 47%. So right now we have, this was, we did $4 or $5 million somewhere in there for this project on that bond.
If you're able to use all of them, you possibly can, it
So-
depends on what other bond projects we're gonna need to take care of the interim.
Right. So we can't use all the bond, because basically what this is saying, we need to use that money for other things. So let's just say it's $4 million. So if we do just a remodel at $20 million, we got to come up with only 13 million, 12 million dollars. We have $4 million. It seems like it's a pipe dream that's never gonna happen. And I asked PFSA, they basically, correct me if I'm wrong, they said that they wouldn't do this project. They said that if we were to apply for it right now, we'd never get approved. So that kind of makes me start thinking, is there another facility that we can accommodate these kids? The public input that we had tonight was all concerns about 7th and 8th grade around high school. Can we accommodate our 4th graders, 5th graders, 6th graders, and keep them separate in the facility, and then still do the same with our 7th and 8th graders? I know keeping students apart from each other is kind of difficult. But I think there's a big difference between keeping a 4th grader and an 8th grader separate rather than an 8th grader and a senior in high school. We still utilize the baseball field, we utilize the soccer field, we utilize the gym, but the one thing that we're not utilizing is the actual building itself. We do have $1.5 million that was a House bill that Senator confiscated last year. It has to go to the old Memorial Middle School. We do not have a choice in or we lose it. So all those factors, I just wanted to bring all the information to the board so the board can have a discussion and see what they think about all of this. This would be-
Well, that's like the people, both of these items. Until we have enough of a thing. Because we have 3 individuals speak. On the B side, we have 2 different meetings that people could come in the public. And we could find out why we were doing it, bring us their concerns. We haven't done that, we're just trying to do it by the way, because we think they're going to, I believe something like this big, again, like it was the first time, needs public input. We just, I already got in the same place, keeping older kids and younger. If we're gonna do, it's the same thing.
And these are, again, discussion for the board to consider. There is an application process to reopen, the old Memorial Middle School campus. And, the public, comments and discussion, it has to be present, for your consideration. And I will say, just because we think it's a good idea, it's not necessarily that PEP is going to approve that.
Yes.
However, with the discussions that I have had with PSBA, this is with the directors and those that work directly with the PSBOC. They did indicate numerous times to me, in fact, yesterday as well, that they feel that it's better to have the Memorial Middle School campus as, one main public for the students, and divert the dollars, the upcoming dollars, because Robertson High School is at the cusp of a standard-based project. They're about to hit the 100 mark, which then allows the districts to consider, complete rebuild, from high school, which would be rather,
Tear down to the roof. That'd be what mine.
I didn't expect, if it's demolished, you could rent, you could sell. Again,
One thing about it is they would pay 100% of the demolition.
Are they still doing that? I know they did it for 1 year, they're still doing it.
So, and it's not something, I don't think we should take lightly. I think this is something that the public info that stated that's only kids all over the district, it's not also did it.
Well, we didn't think about it, I thought we had several public meetings.
But when it comes down to dollars, we don't have the money. Instead of just as a pipe dream, it's gonna get like 4 or 5 years, we might, none of us gonna be on this board again. Then maybe a whole nother board is gonna make a decision to move kids around, but if you don't have the money, then what are we doing trying to make plans? It's been 3 years, 4 years, and we find out that the money for 4 or 5 years. So
It's been the same board. You know, by the time architects come in, by the time we get these bids, see about how much it's gonna cost.
Well,
But we can still be in a pipe dream for the real folk, we have to do it more fun.
what's your take? I know you get a lot of calls on very bad people that have gone to one of the school, go over to middle school. What's your take, being the people that you call, or the people that you talk to on getting that reopened? What's the timeline? Is it something that can happen in the next 6 months, next year? What's vision look like?
Well, the goal of course would be to do a 2-year transition, in my opinion. We even moved the kids from Sierra Vista first. When we were middle school kids, I would say elementary would be more feasible. The $1.5 million can be appropriated into that, and once I can get the campus back on the books with kids, if they then it enables me to find more money for that systems based project, right, and continue to. I do not know what the cost for getting the school operational. Where we have again our contractors coming in for that right now.
But do you recommend the
It is not that, there's only a couple of things that, Mr. Architect actually already reached out to the contractor that was, incomplete. So we reached out to them and it's scheduled to move forward. My recommendation based on dollars and costs in the districts, is looking at getting money for projects. Now is the time to get that done because the state has a surplus of dollars in capital outlay funds. And because we want the middle school, based on what we see is going to be likely less cost to reopen. It's behooves, in my opinion, the district to put less money into a facility that can accommodate over 500 students and dedicate the funds to completely rebuild the whole place. But the way we look at, and again, with my longer experience in my other districts, what they take down, what they demolish, they rebuild. So you can get, brand new everything. It's a little difficult for the Senate, I think that it's concerned about our principals, for here tonight, and then with possible, I recommend for them to talk about this. But with, the cafeteria as the high school right now, the place is not conducive for a cafeteria. Well, whether the middle school kids don't have a place to eat out, and if they do, we're doing it. Gym, which can cause a distraction for students that are supposed to be receiving instruction at the high school for the so there's just a whole lot of issues. I think we've had a lot of concerns with discipline, that's a thing, and that will be time if I can to the veteran schools.
Sure. Yes, Mr. Roman.
When we put this in the past, we were putting cover the kids in the park, and I'm not. So, why would you not using fire instead of gym? Because they used to take them how long, like, required some additional activity in there. My other question is not just doing, how are you planning to staff? Because right now we're using the high school dance teachers to teach middle school and high art teachers. So we've got the woodwork, we've got, FFA,
Music.
we have, algebra, it's being taught in some of the areas with a high school, which is so. And with the teacher, we're not going to teach you how to learn the staff.
So, we can make it happen with the staff that we have. Unfortunately, the schedules already exist where they have, teacher schedule that can have half days or sort of dedicated to the middle school. For example, in the afternoon. So it's just a matter of creating schedules, in that fashion. Probably. And I believe there's like maybe 5 or 6 teachers that would affect.
You know, reliability, if you get an
I think the same thing that's going on before, because I know there's students, in fact, my daughter was one that was traveling from one of those schools to the high school to take math classes we used to go to. So we got that liability, whether it's adults or it's kids traveling back and forth, but you know, my biggest thing is I wasn't on the board when they closed up these schools. And I understand the reason why they did, because we had too much square footage, but there was no plan. I don't see the plan, and it's hard for me to grasp the thing together around. It looks like when you go to Memorial Middle School, they lock the doors and let the lights on and walk away. And our insurance already made it clear that they're not going to cover any more things in Memorial Middle School, due to vandalism or anything else, because we're not doing anything to be proactive. I just feel like it was rushed, and we threw kids in the closet leaking, and they didn't really have HVAC. And I'm sure Mrs. Dawes can contest this, is she can say that there is no HVAC. Now we're trying to find funds to even put an HVAC into a place that we put kids, and we didn't take that responsibility to put kids in a safe environment and adequate environment for learning conditions. So it's hard for me to understand how we think that is good. Not to mention, when I did the walk 2 weeks ago, I wasn't aware I got some 8th grader in the same building. They're not. 8th graders are in the old, I call it the old Welding building. And we have seniors and juniors and sophomores that are walking around and going to Welding class, going to enter grade, going everywhere else, but they're around 14 years. So as a parent, as a board member, I have an issue with that. And we are not keeping kids separate. I don't know, there's nobody in this room that can change my mind that we are keeping these kids separate from high schools. They have to use the same cafeteria, the same gym, the same buildings that other students are in. So we are not doing our job to keep it separate like we stated to the community that we were going to do. So I have a problem with that, and I'm sure we can get our Memorial Middle School. Mrs. Dawes, you want to come up and maybe give us some insight on this in the business.
Logistically, it works because we have classroom support. But as we said, the question here, what does that look like for programs and safety, separation? But I'm looking at there's a section here. So there's and more than fits the number of students that we have with square footage, 110 average. And then looking at the environment down, here's practice that we have number of students. That I mentioned for the board. Right side, and this is my opinion, that would be four part of the still be in separate. Anything on the side of the main entrance would be our 8th grade population. And as the main for so there's like a agricultural center for sent them out to the, greenhouse area. We have a teacher right now who is first and founding this. We have that allows for expansion of the program for students, if they can vacancy culinary arts, we can make those renovations, and whether it's elementary or, you know, middle school. So this is to a more enriched opinion, we're sitting there. So anyhow, that's what I'm saying is there can be some base information on that. Work on another, you know, we do have to consider the addition of playground or elementary school and so on. But those are right to request to I just wanted me to
Ms. Gonzalez, can you kind of enlighten us, tell us the difficulties, the pros and cons that you see about having a 7th and 8th grade where they are currently right now, what you think is best for the students that you are in control of?
Sure. So, we did a walkthrough with, this wall the other day, and one thing that really, that I looked at, that I told the family all about was the space and being able to let the kids have space, because we have space. We're limited, and honestly, we're squished. And there's a lot of places that the kids cannot go to because the high school is having class, but we go to lunch, so we can't have them in the, where the A+ girl is. I do tell them that they can be there, but they have to be quiet because of course, there's classes going on. They only have one basketball court. And that's, you're talking about the third kids want to be out there, so you're talking about 160 kids want to be out of the basketball court, for just one basketball goal. So to me, the positive thing would be the space for it. The second thing was the safety, because if you stop and you look, it's winter. So, and we're away from the hustle and bustle of Starbucks and from McDonald's and all of that stuff, when kids are tempted because they see the older kids being able to leave campus and being able to come back and have food and stuff that they want. So my biggest thing was that, the space and the safety.
What about the HVAC system? I know that I went in one time and I walked through it, and you were there towards the beginning of the year and it was hot. You said that every classroom, they leave the doors open just because it's so hot in the classroom. What did you?
Yeah, so at the beginning of the summertime, it was really hot, so we did have to ask, Miss Alvarado at the time, our safety person, we can leave the doors open because some of the classrooms were really hot. And maintenance is really good, I have to say, they're really good, we call them up and let them know that, hey, they're really good about going and checking, unfortunately, the systems are old, so they do their best, to try to help us out, to help the kids be comfortable as a mistake. But yeah, I think an issue because the building is, it's all, they're old.
What's your take on, I know you, underneath your supervision, you have some 8th grade, and now possibly we're talking about combining 4th through 8th. Do you think it's as much of a concern in your opinion, having 4th graders with 8th graders as it is 8th graders with 18-year-olds or 19-year-olds or whatever that senior may be?
I would probably.
Or 7th grade.
Only because, like I tell you, when they're old, they want to be like the older kids, and it's very hard to control them. And they want to be because they see what the older kids are doing, they want to do it, and then it's a battle. honestly, that why can they do it and we can't do it? So it's a constant battle. So yes, definitely, I would probably be much better off with fourth and fifth graders and sixth graders than ninth to 12th graders, definitely.
Because we're, unfortunately, nothing is ideal. We don't have the money to do everything perfect, to do everything that we could. But there's a lot of districts, Clayton and the small districts, they have K through 8. I know there's somebody here that was mentioning that K through 8. So if they could do the kindergartners all the way up to 8th grade, I mean, I think we can accommodate 4th grade. Not to mention, I spoke to Colleen. She is the one that's in charge of our strategic plan, or facilities master plan. She stated that she was 100% in favor of doing 4th grade and 8th and possibly doing a new facility at Old Memorial Middle School. We don't have the money to do that. That would be a good pipe dream, that'll be another thing down the road in 10, 12 years, and we shouldn't be talking about this. But we do have the money to get one middle school operational and getting it going so we can have 4th grade and then possibly be looking at a new high school. Robertson High School, my parents went to Robertson High School, it hasn't changed. We put vehicles to paint and new little things that Mr. McKenzie and everybody else, the pastor pretends that we created to try to get money to do, but it's still the same old high school. The high school is not great. I know Ms. Gonzalez is trying to do everything she can to get the CTE and this new table and everything else, but it's still not an adequate learning environment. Now that Paul D is no longer there, maybe we can utilize that space to do a new CTE program. I don't know what that is, and that's something that we can discuss later. But I think it's best for us. I was shocked when I walked in the other day. I didn't know the 8th graders were in a totally different building. And it was during lunch and what, there was kids all over the place. There was.
And then that's another thing, the campus is so big. And so the kids,
There's no way you guys can do
there's
that.
no way that super light. But we kind of envision their lunch hour and stuff, so it's really honestly just probably like between 4 and sometimes 5 people that are out there, watching the kids. But you're absolutely right, and they're able to go down to the field, they're able to get A+, they're in the gym, they're in the basketball, they're in the 8th grade hallway. And we do our best to try to learn them up so that we're supervising, sometimes it is very challenging. That's what
This campus would be bigger.
well, with this one. In certain areas where at least we'd be able to watch them be just because I'm just looking at it that it's square. And so if we let them out to like baseball field, we let them out to the soccer field, we let them out, to the basketball courts, like we're able to just watch them within those parameters. As opposed to the high school, there's just way too many other places for them to be at, which.
Not to mention, you have students there, that's what I did, get in
Yes.
cars, leave.
So yeah, it's a challenge every single day with the door dashing and all the stuff, that we have to face as the high school. It's got a little bit more privileges in it, and it should be that way, if you're get older, you should be able to leave campus. Be responsible, but my kids, they don't have that, and they want it.
Not to mention, something we haven't talked about, I know we have lost some kids due to the fact that we did put our 7th and 8th grade on us with campus, and they did in the access service. And I know kids go back and forth, and I understand that, but if we're giving them a different environment, that will stop parents to giving that excuse to, I'm just gonna take the West Las Vegas because I don't want my son to figure around. So it's a similar to whatever the case would be. I know for a fact, I know 2 different families that are homeschooling kids because they were in 7th grade and there was an issue with older boys at high school, and one of the parents is a really good friend of mine, and he just didn't want to do with our district until his daughter is old enough to be responsible because they are around 18 and 19. There's something to
Have you discussed this with like any of your teachers and with other people, and like, what is their input, are they?
I have, I haven't, but I love to be able to discuss it and see what their thoughts are.
But you've obviously heard the complaints about the freaking.
I'm sorry.
You obviously heard about the complaints at this point, that the classrooms are crowded and,
Oh, yeah.
so you heard that.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard it from parents that say that, you know, sometimes the kids, you know, kids are, going back home and talking to their mom and dad that, you know, well, you know, I didn't play today, or I didn't do this today, because it wasn't a little more, we ended up having to stay inside the gym, because you know, there's where else was to be. Yes, I have heard lots of things, you know.
I think in that seventh grade and eighth grade age, it's very critical and very hard. Sometimes kids don't want to get what they want to get with something, for whatever reason it is. And you guys are, for not a better word, talking. There is no way to get away. Everything talking.
There's one hallway down for our eighth graders and one hallway down for our seventh graders, so there's no. Yeah.
I know we have a dedicated school, it's always.
Thank you, guys.
Sure, thank you, Ms. Ross. You know, if there's anything you want to share.
Like right now, I think that fourth and sixth is very, it's a big shift. If you see fourth graders and sixth graders, the age difference is obvious. Third through fifth isn't so obvious, even with students, it's just the routine again. I believe the only way this would work is if it's completely separated, like two different offices, two different entrances, two different everything, because I think having fourth grade. So I have a granddaughter who's in fourth grade, who's in fifth. I don't even like her walking down the sixth grade hall, right, at Santa Vista, because they're not older. I don't want to have to worry about a fourth grader in the day, so I think it's still like.
So let me ask you, so how you can feel when your granddaughter's a seventh grade walking on the halls with 18 and 19?
You're right, the whole thing, I think I was talking to a superintendent and one, like, I wish we could go back to like K1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, kind of the way it's supposed to be. And since it's not like with this, with, you know, I understand the reason for this, for more middle school, but I think that it would work. Like with that, just if we were separated, and if we have, like, if we have to share teachers, you know, hopefully we have to, like, let's say an art teacher. You know, they have two different classrooms in two different locations, not any kids going to one hallway or just completely separate. And I think that, like, different pickup, different bus, different, kind of separated.
That's something, I'm sure that's getting into the weeds a little bit, but I can understand. The last thing I want to do is be moving kids all over the district, and I hope it doesn't work, but, I just, at the end of the day, we don't have money to do service. And you are in there, you're that person in that school, you're the principal, and that is on the list to get demoed and be thrown down, and we don't have the money. We can't create the money. So it's gonna be like 5, 6, 7, 8 years before we get the money. Well, then what's gonna happen in 5, 6, 7 years? That $30 million is gonna be for $5 million. So we're all gonna be chasing it because it's only gonna get more expensive. So, but what we do have is we have enough money to maybe not make it perfect, but we can make it better. Trying to make it a better environment for our kids. And I know you deal with the fourth and sixth. Mrs. Gonzalez is dealing with one other animal with seventh and eighth, and we have to try to somehow mingle. Are we gonna keep it 100% separate? I doubt that. But when I get to the one, when Mr. Gonzalez is in age and Mr. Posenti pretty close in age, sixth grade was totally separate. We're in quarters. Seventh grade was down the hall. We didn't really interact, and we had a teacher. It's so easy to keep them separate because the school is easy. Just like Mr. Gonzalez said, there's not all these different little buildings over there. There's a teacher in the hall, and that teacher, that responsibility was not to allow some kids to go into the 8th grade hall. We had that one way around the library, and we couldn't remember all that stuff. So I think it's a little bit easier. I'm not saying it's not perfect, But I think for your granddaughter and my kid and everybody else that's big in the community, I think it'd be a little bit more, beneficial, and safer.
And just keep them separate.
And I think, I'm gonna walk with this for one time and then stretch it out. There's a gate that comes off the ceiling, and I don't know what the reason was. There was that gate that came off the ceiling, that separate a wall. I've never seen that used. Yeah, but there's ways that, I guess they did that at one point, and I don't know when they did that, but, we're here to discuss it, and that's the whole thing about this, is to have it on the agenda, so we can discuss it, and get some, I want you guys to input, to see the principals, the people that are in there, you guys think this is a good idea, get the public input from parents, and see, and of course, the rest of the board.
Well, with that, I'd like to get Ms. Romero's take on this, because she's been a student who's in the old middle school, the new middle school, and high school.
Thank you, Ms. Valdez. Thank you.
What would be your opinion on this, because you're a student who these always?
So I'm a senior and I'm having a list of the eighth graders. And I see it all. It's crazy. Our bell schedule, I believe, our only difference is for breakfast. Breakfast is separate. But other than that, bell schedule is the same. So I'll see middle schoolers going to high school already to them like, hey guys, how's it going? But for me, like imagine if I was in time and I went to, you know, of course, we don't want that. We don't want an 18-year-old and 19-year-old running into a 12-person like that. We shouldn't be doing that. With the floor plan, I have a little sister, she'll be moving up. And I believe if we do 4th grade to 8th grade, it might work. It could possibly work if we're able to set it. Because I wouldn't even what 4th graders like 8, and then a 6th grader is 12, 13 maybe. I don't know if I feel comfortable with that also, but if we're able to split them, we're actually able to put their safety and all that, it can possibly work. Again, in middle school, you're looking at seniors doing all this, doing all that. They're exposed to it and they're gonna want to do it. Like, I wanna be one of the cool kids, I wanna grow up faster. But when you have them with younger kids, they're gonna be able to get like, oh, okay, well, like, cool, I'm doing this and that. But they're not exposed to the drugs, or they're not exposed to DoorDash, leaving with cars and all this and that. Also, with the middle school, I get complaints, it's over spilling and all that. Again, one of the things I got was, again, the heaters are old and it smells like it's free in there. And imagine if you have like 100 heaters completely hungry. They are separate, they have their own hall, but even at that, some of the classes are in the 7th grade hall. I talked to my brother, I made her really close, and she has 7th grade friends, and she's like, yeah, I remember you. Something now, you guys follow through the floor plan. Make sure you keep them separate, even at some, they have 6th graders that are done. Aren't comfortable with 6th graders. And if you put that all together. And I want to tell parents and they're like, I'm comfortable with my kid. My middle schooler is being senior, but then at the same time, we have parents who are, I'm not comfortable with my kids seeing my 4th grader seeing guys 6th grader. So we can't make everyone happy, but if you're able to make sure their safety, you can keep 4th and 5th in one only, and then 6th grader on the separate one, then you have 7 to 8 on a different side, slightly separate from each other, it may work. Races. You're gonna have 6, 7, and 8 wanting to go outside and play. Of course, they're kids. They're gonna want to do. They're gonna obstruct learning time. Also, bell work. You're gonna have bell ringing every hour. Again, it's gonna also affect the element. I don't know how you're gonna figure out the bell time for that.
And again, those are, not to interrupt you, those are the things that really is technical, and those are the things that we'll have to, of course, the superintendent will have to navigate through. But, I see overall, I think we are on the same vision as to the difficulties and the things that we're up against, so I do appreciate that. Madam Superintendent, I know this is, discussion / action item, Mr. Romero did make, mention that maybe this is something that we need to table, to next month, and maybe we need to do some advertisement for some public input, just so we can have that on record. What's your guys' take, Mr. Romero, Dr. Missouri, the boss? Just do you
Well,
agree?
is that gonna affect our timeline as far as getting this ball rolling to get PD's approval to open it up on the school? What's our timeline? Will that create too close of a timeline of
Two things for CFP stuff, because they are already planning and getting ready to go before the Capital Valley Commission to present phase 2 of that project. We are incurring costs as that moves forward, so my recommendation, if we are going to entertain the reform of the middle school, that I be given permission to pause that project for now, just hold on a little bit until the decision is made. With regards to the Memorial Middle School itself, I mean, I can always submit that application and get the school on the books. And then you make that determination down the road if we're going to reopen. So I can still move forward with it, but the big one is halting Sierra Vista's momentum in the schematic design.
Would it be best to call a special meeting and let our public and the parents of this is what we're gonna discuss specifically, just so that we can have it sooner rather than later. We can have the time for this. We need to follow this up. The board is not even all what it is do, it's just that public and talk about what they're thinking. Yeah.
Right. However, with the Memorial Middle School, I do need a date on the compulsory.
Let me ask you this, what's your opinion? We've asked several numerous people, but what's your opinion? But you know the financial part of it, you know the difficulties, what's going on in the classrooms and everything else, the dynamics of everything. What's your opinion? What's your recommendation?
Feasibility with regards to operational costs, I think it makes sense to have 500 students on one campus. And operation, I think that's better. If you're looking longitudinally, it's going to make more sense with regards to finances. We do see a decline in enrollments, and as I mentioned, that trend seems to continue. So that's a factor that you guys are going to have to consider. As you all are aware, we come from different sizes of districts, but child schools, they have a high school of 800 kids. You know, under their next middle school, have over 500 students, 6, 7, and 8. So as I said, there's never going to be a perfect fix. But then in my former district, I have different wings, but they were on the campus. So it's just a matter of getting staff that they providing just the principal job to do that with everyone got on the campus to ensure that there is separation. And we do have issues, you know, and this is also here. We have other staff members that probably suffer about the summer in the classrooms, and I know that we have much so at some point we're going to have to do something. If we're going to put money in you know, in anything, I'd say put your money into down that road. And you know, like I said, Robertson High School that and again, like a renovation or TV road. So the business was always mentioned in one review. students to their best. And, if we're looking at financial responsibility. Where you go?
So right now, you're saying we need to make a decision to halt the service project until, and by halting it, we can still re-engage this if, well, since fit, correct? On that, I would like to make a motion that we hold, all further construction on said Lisa budget, and give the directive to Ms. Sandoval, as she contacts PFSA and tell them to put a hold on the said Lisa construction. I'd like to make that motion. Do you have a second?
Second.
I have a second, by Mr. Gonzalez. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Madam Superintendent, with that, with your direction to PFSA. Next item on the agenda, moving forward to G, among those, but I think we've already discussed that in a big one, if there's no other discussion. Sure.
So I think forward and have those discussions, with the, I do before the whole to get. If you want that to be done sooner than later, then I would say, in between, public meetings or do a great job at, having more public, input at the board meeting. It's kind of special meeting to put on.
I think it's just tell us such a such big and the boardroom big, there's gonna be public input or anything on discussions on the open board more school. And just that has been really good. I think that's fine, and then the board can make an informed decision at that point as to, we have a meeting.
I was just if we have a special meeting, they're going to make a decision. Be here to public input, because then at that point, that comment meeting, then we're still wasting.
Well, that would be meeting, that would be just like maybe things get their input.
Then we have to call a special meeting or wait for our next regular meeting to make the vote on it.
This is all special meetings, but remember,
For the mention to that, we used to use the survey monkey that we could send out. Get for email and get people that one also.
The Google survey. We have to have the meeting.
And I might be more than then we use to get one.
and if we need to, then it's not hard to call another meeting. And so once we get that survey, then we can get that information and we can call a meeting, then we can discuss it and then take a vote at that point.
And we do have all the information in the house to find out, what are we actually, what is going to do it and how to,
Agreed.
and what if any, we are, like, they still don't have.
Well, I guess they're at 47%, right? No, we haven't done- Yeah,
Back.
I thought, yeah, I thought it was down in the permanent, but 47 based on.
And again, just that example, then go back to UNESCO, it was the, with regards to us, the district, we own up to 2.5 million. The state is putting forth $50 million to do that, so it's been passing that.
So I guess we're not gonna be voting on anything with more on those, but we're gonna give you direction to, well, actually, we need to vote on in that position, but. So I guess, we'll just give you direction to you on the first survey, so we can get that done and hopefully.
So with that said, do we have the date in mind that we will try to have a meeting? So we could give a different time.
I guess she can make the date for the survey, and then once we know whether she's gonna do so many days, 7 days, 5 days for that meeting, then it's pretty easy to follow. Yeah.
Anything else needs to. And maybe in a different kind of all of this, we can go over everything.
On the required public meeting on the third, with that, okay?
One meeting to the department survey, I don't know, kind of actual meeting, I think 2 meetings, if you someone can.
Oh, we can vote at 5 o'clock during the week, maybe go on Saturday morning, so it kind of accommodates everybody. And we just do 72-hour notice. Anything else on that item? Not? Next item on the agenda is student report. Mr. Martin.
So the following representative for this weather month, a little bit of January. Some high school events. Ms. Hoffman hosted a rugby review on January 14th. Many of the choir students performed songs on the Tuesday. Dreammakers hosted Wellness President January 2010. There are also the works of having another flicker. Student council hosted a one-film dance for the student body on February 1st. FFA had a day on the ground on February 5th and met with representative Amica Gonzalez. Ms. Hoffman took the one-hour students to host a Valentine's Day dance with an old folks home in Santa Fe on February 12th. Student council will be attending a state conference for NMAC on February 15th. FFA begins the CDE jerking season in Las Cruces at NMAC. Every weekend, the chapter will travel across the to compete in various competitions, starting February 15th through April 20th. FFA's program mentoring procedure team will be competing at the state contest February 20th to the 22nd. Mr. Baca and his students will be participating in an English expo on February 22nd. Mr. James will be taking 20 members with Dreammakers to UNM February 20th. Memorial Middle School, Memorial Middle School's leadership class and February 14th. Sarah Lisa in Spanish student and families on February. A couple of these services, Michael Taylor, when it gets really cold, then here in the doesn't work. Sneakers, these things that the building is cold, in classrooms, having teachers 5 years. Arguing through. Yeah, these stuff pretty much, they complain a lot about the cafeteria food. One side of the building sometimes gets more heat than the other. Bathrooms don't have mirrors, don't have very little light. Middle school students complain about how cold always get during the cold days. Always have a burning smell if ears are on. And then in the high school students are complaining about how dirty the bathrooms get. There's also no pencil in the bathrooms. Certain classrooms are heat, and students have golden sleep classrooms.
Which school do you president?
This,
Mr. Howard, which school do we have council practice? Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Brown. Next item on the agenda is superintendent report.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, a few things right from line is that, we finally, Diane, released, Ms. Phyllis and I met with, Lady Gonzalez, last week. I'm gonna say asked her a series of questions, we did close out the Senate project. Back, allowing it to complete, but what we decided is that it makes more sense to open that up and continue with the remaining project. That's working on standing so right now. And then we can come back and get some everything that we invite, which is necessary. So that was huge. At the beginning that we're contractors to get that going. I did submit 2 additional capital outlay requests. One was to reauthorize $5 million for the Memorial Middle School. That does extend the
$1.5 million past the June 30th deadline, so it gives us more time to use those funds. And then, I put in for an additional $200,000 to modify the upgrade to district elevators. Robertson High School and one third the building. Each one is about $98,000 to repair and upgrade, so hoping that perhaps we can get some money to get these operable once again. There was, and we have had some issues with backup pumps or operating pumps, so we purchased another 150 of them, and they'll be coming in this week. I am continuing to work with Highlands and Luna. West Las Vegas is in the picture as well. We are looking at getting Robertson High School to become an early college high school. And we are, and that will be open or available to our kids in August of this coming school year. And what it does is it allows students to run, basically to graduate the next few years with those degrees. And it runs two different pathways, so those that are ready, and again, based off of the pathways that we're building, it'll allow students to go to the prep pathway. So to move up to better and finish with an associate's degree in for example, they automatically go into that, and it doesn't affect their financial aid, those types of things. So it's a partnership between us and the university. So that's in play. Meeting, I'll be attending, Mr. Fulton and I will be attending to recover covers. Meeting, they want to expand the religious covers. That. I will hopefully be attending the getting around as well. They just want to get some ideas suggestions to improve the that. Representing our districts. And that's it. We're working already on the 25-26 budget. It is looking like staff across the board will be getting 50% raises that push through. So it's necessarily been directed to begin work on that estimated increase. And working on our salary schedules to show that this is not work. So there will be 90% of our staff receive.
That's maintenance.
Maintenance, lieutenants, cafeteria, drivers. Positions for that the past cost saving. I have not revealed some positions based off of attrition, and one particular position that we have found a teacher for. So we're saving some money this year, with that position for next year. So if I need to not positions, we can't really pay that paying to it. Those are the items.
But 3% is coming from the state.
And we are all. Right, well, to cover all of them.
You know, we're going to be going this week to the NSA conference. Think about every time you go through a regional breakout session, always there is a board meeting should follow the kids. And we haven't had a celebration in some time. Okay. And I don't know what. I'd like to try and get that to do. Academic sustain program, you know, grammar department, the English, film, maybe, we just not really.
Oh, I agree with this. I agree with Mr. Merrill, but 3 years, 4 years now, I've been here, it's always happens. I remember.
I think the difference, we've got STEM program here, we've had.
So 90% of the time with the staffs, you don't think it's 90% of that?
I'm not saying it wasn't, majority was, but we also invited all other departments, other programs should come in, whether they came in or not, that was on them, but we always do add other participants.
And I think from here.
But either way, it's probably.
I think the purpose of the board is to do business, and I understand celebrating kids, but I don't think this is the environment to be celebrating kids in the board. I think there's things that we do, banquets, and other things on campus that the board can be invited to and be celebrating kids there, where their grandparents and parents and everybody else has room for them to celebrate those kids. In a boardroom setting, this is a professional setting, and we're here to do, policy procedure, and that's the business that we do here in this building, in this room. I think there's other places that it's inviting to celebrate great kids, and I think we had this discussion that, where we at, and that banquet doesn't need to be just sports based, let's do it for academics, for the top 10 of the graduating class, and whatever that may be. But in the 3.5 years that I've been here, whatever it is, it's 90% athletes. And granted, Mr. Mo, I love sports just as much as the next guy. My kids are very athletic, but I think we need to not focus just on athletes, we need to focus on everything. Just like you mentioned, that have the STEM program, have everybody else here. There's kids that aren't even part of those programs, maybe the FFA. I think the FFA's been here a few times when they go to the nationals and they're trying to ask us for transportation and stuff. That's not celebrating kids.
Thinking in percentage, when they come back from state competition, when they come back from the national, they usually come, we haven't had. And regardless of what you want to say, this is business and we got to be policy procedures, we can do that after we celebrate the kids. And I'm not just regarding what we tell us at the time. We need to celebrate the development, and we're not doing it.
I know.
Let's get back.
I know I've looked at APS. APS is a huge district. I've looked at probably 15, 20 of their boardrooms and their boardrooms. Not once have I seen any kids celebrate at those boardrooms. Granted, I know that's a huge district, and we don't need to be looking just across the fence at the portfolio. Again, we need to do what we want to do. But I think we can celebrate kids in a different environment. I don't know what that might be, maybe put something together and potentially board and see if it's something people would like to. I agree with this, I'd be all for it. Let's celebrate the kids in a different environment. I think here it's very hard. We have kids, their parents lined up outside in the hallway, and then we try to rotate them in. It's just very confusing, very not inviting for the kids. That's my opinion. I don't know, Dr. Missouri, Mr. Gonzalez, you guys have any opinions?
There was a time when we actually changed the venues of the board meetings. And we could do that. We had one board meeting at Uncle Taylor. We had a board meeting at the Village of Vista. So we can always do that if we need to have a bigger venue without. It's actually only hold back for probably the kids. There's a bigger venue, we can always change the board meeting.
Guidance house, and that was part of the resolution. And we decided on the regions. And I believe it was like every other month, right? So August it was here, then September was at the morning.
No, but I
That's what we see.
that's gonna do it. Anything else? Thank you. Next item on the agenda is executive session. Which makes you. A motion by Mr. Ramos for executive session. Second. Second, the Dr. Missouri, roll call please.
Remember Dave Mayor?
Yeah.
Member Lewin. Board Secretary, Dr. Joyce Missouri. Here. Board Vice President Paul Gonzalez. Yes. Board President Megan Funand.
Yes. The Board of Education will convene for session pursuant to NMSA 1978, section 1051H, discussion of planning of any litigation, grants for students in school. B, the Board of Education will convene for session NMSA 1978, section 1051H, discussion of limited personnel matters, review of investigation of licensed employees. We are now in executive session. 7:19. That's the MSA, that the effective one H, discussion of grant of litigation, reimbursement of the pool. MSA 1951 H, that town manager review of that's the like employees. No action is taken. We are now in open session, it's 7:52. Next item on the agenda is future planning, MSBA 2025 board institute sanitary next bill, February 13th to the 15th. Everybody's aware that we have tomorrow. I think the first part of the. That's your agenda. But I think it's Friday, Saturday. So is there anything on Thursday?
I went 1 year. Representative.
Rubbing shoulders there, all grass. Next item on the agenda is regular board meeting, March 20th, 2025. Everybody's good with that? Oh, Richard. And Richard changed it. I worked for him. But that works.
Now we're gonna bring up.
Yes, or
That's what
agenda.
I'm saying.
It's not me,
You gotta check out the room.
We have to do all three or just one.
just one of those things, because sometimes they don't give, because sometimes they don't give you a certificate, like you said, they don't.
They look at the name tag. The agenda we obviously have. And then with regards to payments of the rooms you need for you to check out of your rooms and get the folio before you. So for sure your name tag. You would.
If there's no other business, I might entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Mr. Romero, do I have a second? I'll second it. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Carries it. 7:54.